Okay, we're live. Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of Security on the In30 Network. We're kind of like Serial, but I think we're more nonfiction, right, Tom?
I would hope so.
I mean, I said Serial, so that must mean that we're really good.
Yes.
Because everyone loves Serial. I don't know why, but spoiler alert, I haven't listened to it at all. But either way. So we're a little late in talking about this idea, but not really, because you just came home from Thanksgiving. Your grandma told you what your problems are with her computer, your grandfather's printer, your dad's whatever mobile device, and you're probably going to see some of them again in a week or two at Christmas, and they're going to want answers. So Tom said it would be a good idea just to quick overcap. We did a whole episode of this last year on what to do. So I'm going to let Tom take it away.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention a couple of the programs that I know I'm going to be using. So let's go over some things in your tool belt, and if you have any questions on this, email us and we'll go into more detail. This is just kind of a quick overview of, hey, going to my grandmother's place, heading over to my uncle's for some Christmas ham. What should I do? What should I carry with me? What should be in my toolbox? So the first thing I always carry is I carry a Linux Live CD. Ubuntu is perfect here. I'm more of a Arch Linux guy, straight up Debian, but Ubuntu works on just about everything. It's got drivers for all of your computer components. You don't really have to fight with the wireless too much. And if a computer won't boot, but your grandmother absolutely needs those pictures right now, you can boot into the machine, grab the pictures, whatever files they need, and then jump back out.
Can I make a suggestion? Not necessarily Ubuntu, but I would do a low processor, memory intensive distribution, maybe Puppy Linux, only because I've been to those people's houses where it's like they're still running 256 megs of RAM, and just you may want to also have in like your secondary tool belt in the car the low memory Linux.
Yeah, or you could do the best of both worlds and use Xubuntu, which is XFCE, so it's got the low memory profile, but it's still got all the good Ubuntu greatness.
So yeah, just have something there that you can boot in live, and then what else? So now you're booted into Linux. Now what?
Yeah, now, what am I going to do? I've got all these files, where do I put them? Of course, I don't need to tell you guys this, carry a flash drive. Carry something big. If you're working on newer computers, chances are probably not. A USB 3 flash drive is awesome. I carry around, and I don't have it in front of me here, I carry around one of the SanDisk Extreme flash drives. I've had it for about a year now. They hold up pretty well. They don't take up much room, and they are blazing fast. I love it. But, any old USB 3 flash drive will do. The next thing, you're going to see malware. You're going to see a lot of malware. So the two heavy hitters that have been pretty consistent for a very long time, Malwarebytes, stick to the free version, no reason to go to pro. All you're doing is scanning and blasting away anything you find. And then for the really nasty stuff, and we're going to include links to these in the show notes, Combo Fix. And Combo Fix is by the guys over at Bleeping Computer. You want to use Malwarebytes first. Don't go straight to Combo Fix. Malwarebytes is like, your infantry, and Combo Fix is like launching the nukes. It can be dangerous. It can break things. I've seen some computers come out a little worse than they were before after Combo Fix. But if you've got no other options, send in the nukes. And that's really about all I had.
Well, I would say if you haven't been to Portable Apps in a while, they just exploded with a huge metric ton of just applications that you can load on your flash drive. I mean, when I started visiting a few years ago, it was maybe 50 tops. We're looking at 500 on everything. So in case you want to have a virus scan on it, just to have, you want to whatever you need that you don't want to download. It may be so infested that you can't do anything with it.
Yeah,
you want to make sure.
Like Chrome or portable Firefox, especially if I get locked down with some malware, is fantastic. That's a great suggestion.
And then the last one that I will bring is Ninite. Let's say all else fails and you want to throw everything out and start over. Ninite, Ninite. Basically, it gives you one installer, and you choose the apps that you want. They're all freeware, and you just say go. You have your Christmas dinner, you have your potato latkes, and you come back, and everything's installed. And the good part about it is that it's not installed with all the default settings. It's installed with the don't install toolbar settings. So it's not 100%, but it's pretty good. So yeah, just have those. And I saw this the other day. Or I had this idea the other day. First thing, before you even do that, Tom said get the files on the flash drive. You may want to install Google Drive or Dropbox. Just instead, if you don't have a flash drive on you, whatever it is, if you're gonna, you just may want to help Grandma out or your parents. Just install Drive or Dropbox. Drive gives you 15 gigs. Dropbox gives you 5. I don't know how much you need. And if there's
Just
more than that,
make sure to clean the malware off before you install those, especially if you're logging into your own account.
True. You're right. You're right. Make sure there's no malware on them. But again, just those little pieces of software, run those while you're eating dinner, and that will hopefully get you through another year.
Yeah, and if all else fails, if it's not something software related that you can easily fix on the spot, let's say you've got a dead hard drive, or the power supply burnt out. My grandmother's computer actually, there was a little bit of fire, not a bunch, just a tiny amount of fire, and it started smoking. She's got bad luck with this desktop. It's kind of sad. But a Chromebook's not a bad option. Keep that in mind. If you're kind of the less technically savvy members of your family, but they still do like internet stuff and email, a Chromebook might be the right fit.
Look, I love my Chromebook. It does everything I need it to do, and from there, it does everything. The only thing that you can't run, and this takes 4 years of computer science to explain it to you, you can't run Skype on an ARM processor. So you're not getting Skype. You're going to have to use Google Hangouts, which is not the end of the world. It's just another extra click, and it's just another simple explanation, but it's still there. So,
and I think that's all about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you install Chrome or Firefox and you teach if you teach your grandparents or people what to look out for, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can do, but these things should take away 80 to 90% of all the stuff out there, and then the 10%, either that's another trip or I don't know. Tell them to take it to their local PC place, not the big stores.
And one thing that I have used in the past, but it's not a 100% surefire thing, for hard drives that you suspect might be broken, might have bad sectors, whatever, I've used SpinRite. Now, it is an expensive application, but I've seen it work sometimes. So if you're in desperation mode, SpinRite might be worth the money.
For your hard drive.
For your hard drive.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything else. Won't repair a file system. It's totally like hardware-based.
So, yeah. So again, you're gonna see them. You're gonna see people next week. Think about that. The next thing, which we're just going to talk about for the next few minutes because we have no more information about, we just see idle threats, is the Sony hack.
Yes.
Right? I see that now they're going after the movies, they're releasing damning emails, Sony's getting sued, all this nasty stuff, but nothing concrete has come out to say that bad things are going to happen.
Yeah. I'm not entirely convinced this is North Korea, and I don't know if that's because it just seems implausible that someone would take a movie this seriously, or if it's because I really believe that a group like maybe Anonymous, maybe someone else is just looking for a convenient excuse to pin it on. But this is getting kind of out of control. It looks like the movie is now not going to be released in theaters on Christmas Day.
Do you think that North Korea paid Anonymous, or I don't know, went on the Silk Road before it shut down and said, "Hey, we have money for you"? So it's not necessarily North Korea, but it is somebody.
Paying Anonymous is a little hard to do, seeing as they're cloudy abomination of anything they want to be, and they don't really have a centralized hiring process. But could they have gone to a darknet or a forum somewhere and said, "Hey, we're going to give you X number of dollars if you'll hack Sony"? Maybe it's a possibility. But I really don't think this is the right answer. The movie theaters, look, these are threats, and as much as I hate to say this, like when you're being threatened and then you give into it, they win, right? The terrorists win. You can't go to these hackers and say, "Oh, well, if they're going to release horrible emails about AMC theaters, we probably shouldn't show this movie." No, that's not the right way to do it. You grin and bear it and do what you're going to do anyway. Because
I mean, we've seen some pretty damning emails to say that that Comcast and Sony were trying to go after net neutrality, and they want to reinstitute some weird version of SOPA. There are these things that are coming out, but obviously no one's taking the good. Here's my issue. The good part is now we're starting to see heads roll. We're starting to see people in a lot of trouble. We're starting to see people who have to answer some really tough questions. And they're not hiding in Russia like Edward Snowden, or they can't. They're right here. They can be arrested. They're going to have to report to. This looks like an FBI matter at this point.
Yeah. This has definitely got international crime-fighting agencies around the globe pretty interested in looking for who might be doing this. And if it is North Korea, guess more power to them. I mean, you can't exactly invade another country to arrest a group of hackers. There are no extradition laws there for neighboring countries, so China might have one. But
I don't know what you're going to do with it. I really don't know what you're going to do with that. It's
if it is North Korea, I mean, what other options do you have except make sure your systems are patched? And if you're sending around emails that are going to get yourself in heaps and heaps of trouble with either regulators or the general public, think twice before hitting the send button, or use PGP. See? Encryption could have kept these guys out of trouble.
The problem is, I don't know too many Sony executives, but I know enough executives to know that they feel like they're above the law.
Yes.
And that's a problem, which I think leads perfectly into our next topic.
It does.
So where I live, one of the neighboring towns just is going through an issue right now. 4 teachers, 4 educators, and substitute educator with any other group of people were at some sort of training, and they were using a private but public form of communication. They were using Hangouts probably to say some pretty nasty things about, in this case, students. Like really nasty. I mean, everything didn't come out yet, but the idea was that it was, if you heard this, you would say, you would get the pitchforks and the riot gear and everything else. And what happened was, from the articles, is that another person saw them messaging back and forth, and she thought it was about her, so she brought it to the people in charge, and now these people are on the hook, and they may lose their job, and people are mad and everything else. So when I go and I discuss it, people are saying, "Oh, that's why the Facebook and the Twitter and this and all that, all these things are terrible. You should never use them." And I turn around and say, no, you have to adjust your idea of what's acceptable. And people are saying, no, they should be fired. And I go, wait a second. Don't tell me you've never said or written down something bad about someone where you thought it was private and it could have ended up public.
Yeah, people don't, in general society, most people don't go out into the street and start yelling at people and calling them names and making fun of them. Most people, right? We all know there's crazy folk out there. There are crazy people out there that do really messed up things. But for the most part, society is pretty docile and calm and generally coexists. I wouldn't even go as far as to say they get along. But online's going to be the same way, right? There are services like Twitter where you've got sort of a shield of anonymity a little bit, unless you do something really bad to get the authorities involved, like the police. where you can just make a new username and start spouting out whatever garbage you want. And then there's something like Facebook that's got your name attached to it. Maybe Twitter has your name attached to it, but why would you say something on Twitter or Facebook that's attached to you that you wouldn't yell out in the street, or that you wouldn't say to a complete stranger? Because that's what the internet is. It's your online persona. Whatever social network you're using, you have to remember to temper your words for, A, your audience, and B, your privacy level. Twitter, open by default. Totally out there. Facebook can be slightly privatized, but keep in mind they've had gaffes in the past where they've opened up privacy settings and stuff has come out that people didn't want to come out.
Well, I look at it and I tell people, if you're going to say, like you said, Twitter is wide open, Facebook is fake closed, they still, it's public. It's out there. It is public. It's out there for everyone to see. Whether Facebook, like you said, has a gaffe, or law enforcement compels Facebook to give it to you, or your friend of a friend retweets it or reshares it, or whatever it is, what you think is private, yeah, or somebody fire sheeps you, or you get hacked, any one of those makes it public. So yeah, you have some really small, thin brick wall, not even brick, just this tiny wall there that can protect you from certain people, the people that don't care. But if somebody wants information, they're going to be able to get it.
Right. The general rule I try to live by, and I don't do it all the time, and it's really hard to do this all the time, but keep in mind, if you're trying to keep something private, if you're trying to keep secrets, or there's information that you might want to send to someone, or you're afraid it's going to get out, the general rule of thumb is if it's on the internet, it's public. That's just the general mindset you should have. It's not the truth, but it's a general mindset you should have when putting things online, putting things into Google Drive or Dropbox, or even sending PGP encrypted email. Let's say you're sending all these nasty messages about, like, assassinating a world leader or something, and North Korea gets your PGP private key and decrypts all your email, and now you're a target for a terrorist attack. Like, stuff like that can happen, and you should think about things before you say them, or type them, or send them. It's just generally good mindset to have.
I mean, and the whole idea that we're trying to get at is you should, if you choose to be on a social network, go have fun. It's not the enemy. I mean, to meet people in real life is always better, but there's no reason why you can't be on Facebook or have some cause on Twitter that you're trying to promote and everything else. We're just saying, don't be stupid on it. Just be safe, and just remember that the lock on Twitter doesn't do anything, or the groups in Google Plus or the groups in Facebook don't really do anything. It's just shielding you from people who don't really care. If they want the information, they'll get it. So just be aware and just don't post anything that you don't want, obviously, to reach somebody else.
Right. There are a lot of people, and we talk about this a lot, there are people on Twitter that actually take pictures of their bank card, either for a laugh or because they aren't aware of the dangers of posting a credit card number online. But they post it publicly to their Twitter account, which then gets picked up by another one and spread all over the internet. Just be safe. Be smart about these things. Social networks are here to stay, and they're a great thing. They're a great tool to talk to people, to meet with people. I use social networks each and every day to talk to friends that I haven't seen in a while, and to talk to people I see, on a weekly basis. And they're fantastic. But there's no way I would put anything on there that I really wanted to keep private or really wanted to keep secret. I just don't trust it that much.
I go on Facebook and I see all these people posting all these weird articles, political, non-political, all this other stuff, and I go, look, I think you don't understand how public this information is. I don't go and tell them because it's a lost cause. It's not going to change. It's just, it's one of those things. As private as you are, as much as you try to hide it, if people want to find out who you are, they're going to. So just, you know what, be nice. Nobody got in trouble for being too nice.
Yeah. And I can guarantee you, I can absolutely guarantee you, if you go to my Twitter account, if you click on my name and you start going back through my Twitter history, I have said some dumb things, some really stupid things. I've probably even said things I wish I could take back. I've probably complained and whined a lot more than I should have. So no one's going to be perfect, and the aim isn't to be perfect, but it's to think about things a little bit before you post. And yeah, it'll probably decrease the amount you post. I know that I post less on Twitter today and less on Google Plus today than I did 5 years ago. And it's because I think about the things I say a little more. I think about how people perceive me and how I want to be perceived a little bit more, and that's a good thing to keep in mind.
And you have to remember, employers, while I don't think now, I think they finally passed the law saying they can't ask for your password, but
Right.
they can follow you on Twitter. They can try to be your friend. Remember, your wall is public if you set it to be public. You have to actively go in there and set it to friends and everything else. And think about it. Did you friend that person at that party because you met them once? Do you know all 3,000 of your Facebook friends? If you don't, you may want to think about that and say, you know what? If I'm not really going to talk to them, they're not really there for me. I'm just going to pare it down. And remember, it's just yeah. So pare it down and just think about what you say. And we're both on Twitter, and we both see some of the stuff that people say, and I sometimes cringe. Like, how dare you say that? How can you say that with a straight face? But whatever, their boss doesn't care, or they don't care, their significant other doesn't care. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually did, and I'm not sure. I haven't been on Facebook in a good long while. But they used to have like a group of like 6 friends off to the side, and you would refresh the page, and it would be a different 6 people, just showing these are your friends, and here's their pictures. And I every couple months I would play a game called Friend Roulette, and I would refresh the page, and every time I refreshed the page, I had to unfriend one of those people in the rectangle. And it actually kept my friends list relatively clean and relatively unannoying. It still got annoying enough that I left Facebook, but it was kind of fun. Just go through your list sometime, see who you care about, see who you don't, and clean it up. And think about your public persona. Everyone is public on the internet. Everyone. Even if you're a nobody, you're still public on the internet.
And I mean, which leads us into the very last aside thing is another story that happened recently is that people were being asked to produce a whole bunch of email from their email account at work because something happened. Obviously, I don't know what it is, but they were saying, yeah, now I have to sift through the personal and professional emails, which you just want to smack people around and say, your work email is your work. Your personal email is your personal email. And as much as we say that, people still forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it before. I've seen it in every company I've worked for. Personal things get used for work stuff all the time. I've done it myself, so I'm not condemning anyone. But it's important to keep these things at least logically separated. It is very difficult sometimes, I realize. And then I've seen things that I really don't agree with, which is people would sign up for Facebook or for their Apple account with their work email address. What happens if you change jobs? What happens if if the company fires you? What if you forget your password and you can't log in to change that email address, and now your forget password thing is just gone? And yeah, in a lot of companies you can call them and identify yourself, but in some places you can't. I mean, who you can call it Twitter, right?
Look, I mean, it's very simple to hit forward to some sort of like payroll announcement to send to your significant other, to your spouse. And we're not really talking about that. The one-off email, you're at school, you need to fire off a quick email to a friend. But when that conversation becomes either too long or too not work appropriate, that's when you have to say, you know what, maybe we should take this somewhere else or restart the conversation on a personal email. And I know firms that will block Gmail, block Hotmail, block Yahoo Mail, and say, you know what, we're personal mail. And what I say to that is that means that you have to. That means that you still can't use your work email for that. You got to find either another way, or just wait till you get home. Do work at work.
And you might be able to, let's say you and the person you're talking to want to set up pardon me, want to set up PGP. Yeah, you could do that, but what happens when the IT guy or your boss comes with you with a printout of all this ciphertext and says, "Are you selling company secrets?" What are you gonna say?
I mean, you can't say you have any amendment rights because it's a private company. At
Yeah,
school, everything is all. I mean, anything public is Open Public Records Act, so they can get that. You're going to be. I mean, it's a no-win situation. If you're not going
yeah,
to, don't do business at work. Do your job, and look, it's very simple to open up another email account. You have a phone. Apple gives you a .Mac account for free or whatever .me, or an iCloud account. Android, you have to have a Gmail account for. Use that.
hmm
And remember, yeah.
And now on all these mobile operating systems, especially, it's really easy, especially with the new Android 5, to keep different profiles for different things. Like you could have a work login to your phone or a work section of your phone and a personal section, and have them be completely logically separated with the multi-user function. That's really powerful and really useful. And I really wish I wasn't carrying two different phones because I would totally use that.
So, well, like I said, this just came up the other day, and I thought, I don't know if we've ever talked about just social network, how it's great for most things, as long as you're a nice person on the internet, and just be aware that everyone sees it. So, yeah, talk about your gardening, talk about your hobbies, talk about fun things. But just remember, as soon as you start talking about things you shouldn't be, you're putting yourself on the attack. So. And the last thing, it just came about now. U.S. from the New York Times, U.S. links North Korea to Sony hacking. Nobody's coming forward with it, but the New York Times generally doesn't lie on their news. I mean, they're generally fairly accurate. We're going to go with that.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good about their sources. So we'll have to see how this one plays out.
So now we have that. But anyway, that's it. I don't have anything else. Be safe. Happy holidays. And I guess we'll see you next week.
Relax. Have fun.
And we'll go next week. Okay. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.